Sure, for a second.
Guys, this is a rant.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of StrongFit Podcast.
Hi.
Yeah.
Let me go at why my problem with structure a little bit.
Yeah.
Why I see people. So at first, everybody wants structure, right? So let's say you start a new podcast, they're going to give you a list of things to do and stuff like that. Choose your audience, stuff like that. I'm like, you're not even good at it yet. You don't even know what you want to do with it. And yet people give you all that structure to follow. I'm like, all right, but let's imagine that you choose a subject and you decide that's going to be my avenue moving forward. So now you put all your eggs in one basket and you keep moving forward. In order you gain success, you start to make money. In order to make more money, you need to push that further. So at some point though, you're going to be pigeonholed into such a corner that you, even if you think, whoops, I might have been wrong, or there's an evolution to it, or you have another idea, you cannot leave that road anymore. Then what? Okay, we've known so many people doing that, from a gym level to system level to
It's been interesting to see. I mean, I've worked with people that own a type of gym, and they stop. I mean, they stop doing what they sell and what they promote,
right?
Because either they've been injured, they don't like it anymore, they don't enjoy it. And yet they still promote the same method or modality that they cause them to burn out.
Pretending that it's working.
Yeah. Like I follow a few people, and there was somebody that had this entire business built up on macros.
Yep.
Went through panic attack, anxiety through the roof, symptoms of anxiety, so on and so forth. Still sells the macros,
even though they let go.
Even though they caused these panic attacks, the only thing that changed throughout everything else was that.
Yeah.
And
is that constant, like, you know, the number
and then found another person to follow in nutrition, and now is talking about gut health and everything. But as she's trying to talk about gut health, she's still promoting the macros, which she can't do anymore.
Because you gave her so much anxiety.
Yeah. And so now all they're adding in is supplements to help the gut health. So rather than something that's off.
Then if you keep pushing there, then naturally you will say that the gut health was the cause of anxiety, not the macros.
Right.
Because that's what your business is built on.
Yeah.
It's rough when you build your money income on a specific direction, because that means you can never change it. There can never be an evolution to your thinking on the subject, because you banked your career on it.
Yeah.
And then we've seen that in macro, for example, so much. We've seen that in businesses.
Yeah.
So to go on the macro stuff, I've talked to so many women that had such anxiety about macros, because I talk about it all, the good hard law of economics. When a target becomes, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
Yeah.
Macros were just supposed to be a measure of food, never a target. But that's the first thing the nutrition world did, is turning it, a measurement, into a target, because then it's easier to sell.
Well, and it's a passive way to sell it, right? Because
exactly.
then the macros are going to fix my health, which is not necessarily true.
And I went through that shit. I went through that one. Why macros are bullshit, I went through that one so many times.
Yeah.
But then people are still saying, it's a way to change modification of food habits. I'm like, no. You know what changes your food habits? Your relationship to food.
Right.
Not your habits in that sense.
Behavioral change.
Right. That needs to happen. Your relationship needs to change.
Right.
Not putting more rules in place. All it's going to do is fuck up even more your relationship with food, because your body is an object instead of a subject. Anyway, I went into all this, but this is my problem with this. And so now what we see is what I think is extremely unethical, is people that do not do the shit they're promoting.
Right.
That bothers me. And that bothers me so much. And we see that in gyms. Like, you have fixed people that are doing a very specific training program out there that I am not necessarily
gonna say.
I'm just not.
And if they're taking it personal, it's because they probably think it's them.
Some will. And if you think it's you, then it's probably you.
Yeah.
I am not best of friends with the owner of that particular company, because they've been stealing our shit forever while trash talking about us, because it's good business for them.
Yeah.
And so you had people from that stuff that had fucked up shoulder as usual and stuff like that. Yeah. You fixed them So they do all stuff for shoulder and yet only promote that system to their people.
It's baffling a little bit sometimes.
To me, like on a human level, I don't like it.
Right.
Maybe it's because I have the wrong idea. Like I grew up with comic books and martial arts, so maybe I have that, almost like Japanese honor kind of stuff. It bothers me on so many levels.
Yeah, it's a baffling thing. The way that they try to sound, the way that they force themselves to look professional and elitist, and the solutions are always very simplistic.
Yeah, instead of simple. Yep.
And then as problems arise, rather than taking the fault for it, they piggyback on it saying, well, you were doing it wrong in the first place, so it's your fault.
Oh, that's so much.
And so, I see that a lot. Like, it's from nutrition to fitness to movement. They try to give these simplistic,
oversimplistic
selling points to make the quick nickels nonstop.
Yep.
And then as soon as it stops working, they add, you see that, where you see that a lot? Here in Holland. Like all the rules, biking and driving, and so many rules that nobody follows the rules, and it's chaotic in these streets because there's so many rules that nobody even knows which rules to actually follow.
And so what do? They add one, which of course just makes it worse because no one listens to that one either. Yep.
But it's like, that's what you see, and that's what I've been seeing a lot. And so that's why we said kind of like a rant alert. Like, I'm tired of seeing these people promote themselves as the best of the best or elitist, and when the solutions or the explanations need to come out, they give this very simplistic approach to the solution.
And
which is not even giving a solution, I don't think.
No, and to me, all I see is you defending your business.
Yeah.
Money.
Right.
That's all I see, is you defending your money. Like I just did a Jonas Corner podcast on, for example, what I think chronic stress versus acute stress is. Just to say like, adrenaline and all that stuff, just doesn't matter. But I can say I'm wrong on any subject that I've talked to, because I've always said, there's an evolution. People see me not changing my mind because the principles are still the same, but just getting better at what I talk about. I'm like, there's an idea, and then I think, and then I keep moving forward. So for example, parasympathetic versus sympathetic always, right? Where we see that with breath work.
Right.
Right. And the Wim Hof stuff.
Because that's a big thing right now.
That's a big thing right now. But I started with Wim Hof and breathing. But what people don't understand is Wim Hof talked about breathing in an ice bath.
Yeah.
Which brings a huge acute stress response, huge sympathetic response, a fight mode. And so the idea was flow within stress.
Yeah.
Stress has it acute stress, so has it the fight mode. So the flow and the fight mode working together being the response.
Right.
So what people started to say is, because it's Namaste, the bear away and all that, it's like, we want to be on the parasympathetic side.
Yeah.
That's not what Wim Hof was doing. He was saying parasympathetic side while an increase in the sympathetic side.
Right.
But it's hard to put people in an ice bath. No one likes it. You have to have an ice bath. It's hard. Yeah. You have to have ice.
Right.
All that shit, no one wants to do it. So what they did, they took parasympathetic and put it out there saying, we're going to do breath work. Right. And so what it's saying now is the breath work will allow you to have less anxiety. But I'm like, so anxiety is somatic error. Somatic errors is changing the prediction, changing how you feel about it, or taking action.
Right.
The ice bath was taking action. What they're saying is change how you feel about things.
Yeah.
If you look. So breath work allows you to do what? To namaste the bear away.
Yeah.
Because now we're going to pretend the bear isn't there. So for example, I say my arm is extended. My prediction is I can go, that's not true. So I have three choices. I can go, no, my arm is bent. Yeah. I can extend my arm is extended, or I can go, I don't care.
Right.
I'm just not going to look at it. Right.
If it's not there,
A lot of the breath work being done right now is, I'm just not going to look at it.
Right.
It can work, which means I don't care if my arm is bent or not, until it becomes a problem. And now I need to actually do something about it, usually, or whatever. So yes, it's going to work, but it's a very fucked up way of looking at life where you just namaste the bear away completely, which eventually will turn you into a problem because chronic stress is on the parasympathetic. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so when they go like this, they go like, breath work. How am I going to adapt breath work? I'm going to say breath work and anxiety.
Yeah.
All right, so how do I justify that? Well, anxiety is sympathetic. The world brings a sympathetic response all the time. So therefore, breath work. And they start to go in that corner where they have to push further and further, where everything is a sympathetic, everything is a stress.
Right.
But I'm like, yeah, but that's not true. Now you get to a moment, I'm like, which stress are you talking about? What in life right now in this society
They're stressing you out.
is stressing out that much? You're never cold, never hot, you never fight. I can do a list like this. And when I'm like, so physiologically speaking, what you're saying is not true. Stress is just a demand for an expenditure of energy.
Right.
That's all this is. But so you have energy spent toward the outside world or toward the inner world. So then we can have that conversation. But physiologically speaking, what you're talking about is a tiny portion of the equation that you're taking and putting the whole world into. Right. And that is incorrect.
Yeah.
And now you're pigeonholing yourself into a hole and you're going to make people worse eventually.
Right.
And that's where I have a problem.
I mean, that's where it reminds me of 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't put the pussy on the pedestal. Right? The same thing.
Yeah.
They put this, they make things much greater than they are. And they
for money.
Yeah. And so they try and get, breath work is awesome, but if it's not being applied towards movement, towards action, towards something.
But by the way, breath work also means sympathetic. We need to have a podcast on it. We need to have an entire program on it. We're going to do an 8-week program on breath work so we can explain. Right. Breath work does not mean just parasympathetic.
Right.
Welcome to life.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome to life where sometimes you need to fuck shit up.
Right.
So therefore, there is a breath for that as well. See, that's my problem when they say breath work.
Right.
Is all they talk about is calming.
Yeah.
I'm like,
which makes no sense because breath work allows you to bring up the arousal rate, which therefore gets you.
We sometimes is necessary.
Yeah. In the most primal function of life, it's necessary.
Wait, if we talk about sex, do you want everything to be calm? I guess that depends how you do it. But on the more stuff, if you look culturally, violence and sex have always been associated. Right. Arousal and violence go together. And it's not a pathology. We all know this. Yeah. We just don't want to talk about it, but we all know this. It's culturally, it's always been there. So obviously, and which is interesting because excitation, it belongs on the parasympathetic side. Shows you, but an orgasm is a switch to sympathetic. Yeah. We need both sides of the equation. So when they say breath work and they refer only to calming, then that alone, already, you're wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? You've pigeonholed yourself into something. That means you don't understand what you're talking about.
Right.
That is not breath work. That is a portion of breath work, a small piece of breath work. But there's also breath work in order to bring yourself up. And they're going to say, well, I do that. Really? Because I don't see it.
Yeah.
Because 95% of what I say is namasting the bear way.
Right.
Like all the yoga stuff and everything. I'm like, great. Who said you have to calm yourself down all the time? You're assuming sympathetic is bad. Can you explain to me why? Because I'll have long conversation on the subject. No, it's not bad. The only way we saw out of depression is through the fight mode.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do with a depressed person? More parasympathetic work, knowing that depression is already on the parasympathetic side.
Yeah.
How is that going to help? See, that's my problem. And my problem too is those people, because business is business, they'll go from anxiety, but they'll go, oh, breathing will help depression too.
Right.
Oh, really? And then they go further and further because they just try to improve their business. Know what I mean? And then now they refuse to see that they're wrong.
Right.
And so I get those messages and I'm like, all right, let's talk about it. But then what about this and this and this? Conversation stops.
No.
Because now I can't validate what you're saying anymore. And that's usually when people get pissed at me.
Well, I think that's in the world that we're in right now with social media and how everything is being put into such a simplistic way, right? So 1 minute videos, I mean, not even 1 minute now, because now you have like the reels and the TikToks where you just keep swiping through.
Well, it's 10 seconds now.
And
it's
so
like, how far does it go?
How much can you really explain in 15
There's fitness
seconds?
On TikTok now.
Yeah.
I said, what the fuck is wrong with you?
And so like I stopped following them because I've
never been on TikTok.
That's a massive sympathetic tip. So I not even TikTok, but even like Instagram. Like I stopped following people because it just pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because it's
that's what it's based on.
And I think that's where I think I have a hard time posting on social media sometimes because I'm like, what do I post? Like there's so much on the back end that needs to be explained, the context. So like I try to put the post of the lats bring confidence.
Yep.
And I was trying to do it like, am I training the lats or am I training the confidence when I'm doing lat pull downs? And I kind of give like a write-up of it, but I'm like, there's so much more that goes to it. So then I have people that are curious and they write to me and I'm like, there's a lot more that goes, not just the lat pull downs are going to bring the confidence. If you're just pulling the fucking thing down, like there's a whole approach to it, right? The breathing needs to be there, the facial expressions, like
your presence.
there's so much, that needs to be there. And so the simplistic approach that people are doing, especially in the fitness industry that we're seeing, I think is just killing an entire generation of advancement.
So right now we're criticizing the coaches and the people on the money side. But let's be honest, some of it is you.
Yeah.
We have to, like the whole, it's not me, it's you. No. It's not you, it's me. No. It's not just us. It's you as well. Like we saw that on the Strong Fit community where we started with genuine questions about like, hey, I'm doing that exercise for my client. This is how I do it. What do you think? Which I liked because that's a conversation. And before you know it, because I stopped being like as active as I was and just shutting people down because I got tired of shutting people down all the time on stuff like, because I don't like to do that. I mean, you know me. And before you know it, 3-4 months, 6 months later, what do we get? We get mostly people asking for free assessments.
Right.
You're asking strangers on Facebook to fix your fucked up shoulder. Do you understand where you are in life right now?
Right.
That is fucking mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. That's a lot of trust on somebody you don't know on the internet.
But it's not even asking. But it's not even asking you and me for the assessment. It's asking people on the Strong Fit community.
Yeah.
You're asking people. You know us from all this, and you have. Right. I think we have gained a lot of that trust through the results we have, through the explanation we give, and everything. But that's not who you're asking. Yeah. You're asking a bunch of complete strangers just because they're on the Strong Fit community. Did you guys notice that some of the people answering you are not ours?
Right.
We had some fucking physio saying all the wrong things. Yeah. Dorsiflexion, passive stretches.
Put the band around the knees and push them out.
Yeah, and all that stuff. I'm like, really? You're going to go there? And I'm like, dude, all he did was give a list, and I'm sure he gives on every single page. Right. I should have. I forgot to kick him out, but if I see it again, I will. This is just the guy promoting himself. Yeah. But why do you think he's promoting himself like that? Because you asked a fucking question.
Yeah.
To fucking strangers on Facebook. What is wrong with you? and you know, sometimes it's not even on them, it's for their clients. I'm like,
Well, that's like when you see people that own gyms and they pay people for their programming. Like on the CrossFit affiliate page, I'm still part of it, which I don't know why, but I'm still part of it.
You like that sympathetic fix sometimes. Yeah, I like to get angry. Yeah.
Like sometimes you're like 87 comments. Oh, this must have gone
you have to click there. Yeah.
When I grab my popcorn. No, but you start watching these dudes and they own gyms and they're like, hey, where do you guys outsource your programming to? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So you own a gym where you're supposed to educate people and you're outsourcing the program, the content that you truly get to provide for people.
What else do you outsource?
Yeah, like, what are you...
Coaching,
what's
nutrition,
the point?
like... Then why don't you have a bar?
Yeah.
Can you get the fuck out of the way and leave the good coaches out there? Because this is part of what killed CrossFit. Is not... Because everybody's Greg Glassman. Partly. Let's agree. It was Greg Glassman. They were from the beginning, which we all knew about. So you don't get to bitch about too much about this either, by the way. But the other part is you.
Yeah.
It's so many coaches opening gyms, they had no business opening because they were not ready.
Right.
If you have to outsource nutrition, coaching, programming, all that stuff to
all of it,
go open a bar, please, instead of a gym.
Something, yeah.
Because there's some good people behind you that could use the extra 10 clients to stay afloat and stuff like that, where they truly care. And they're taking their time because they're busy educating themselves still, making progress on their coaching.
And you start looking at it and you start seeing, like I remember when you start looking at it and coaches leave to open up their own gyms and the owner gets pissed. And I'm like, well, maybe you stop educating the coach. So he had to go somewhere else to start so that he can grow. Like I see that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like,
go.
If you're not learning from your superior, then what's the point of sticking around?
Curtis McGuinn. Curtis McGuinn was a client of mine, private client of mine. He owned, maybe he still owns, Ivory Capital. He made personally $250 million in 2005. He was one of the top hedge fund guy in the world. And I asked him, it's like, by definition, how are your guys not all living? Because your top guy, how much he made this year? $5 million. And he was pissed about it, by the way.
Right.
Because he was not enough. And he was like, why does he stay? And he told me the thing I never forgot, which was, as long as they can learn from you, they'll stay with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Bottom line, yeah. So if you outsource your programming to another top, and you give it to your coaches to do, and you tell them that's how you do it and stuff like that, fuck yeah, they're gonna live. Yeah. Why would they stay?
At that point, just go open up a McDonald's, go open up a franchise.
Exactly.
Like, that one still baffles my mind. Like that's my rant, 101 rant. Like I don't understand why you would want to have such a cool fucking space where you're able to impact so many people and you're outsourcing everything basically. Like what so you just want to run a
and let's be
business.
honest, it stunts your growth as a coach.
Yeah.
So much. You want to grow as a coach, group classes are great. Go do one-on-ones too.
Yeah.
Because then you discover what it's like to deal with people and stuff like that. And you don't get to outsource that programming, hopefully. If you do, you're even worse than I thought.
Well, there is a certain program out there that has templates for it.
I forget every time.
There are those programs.
Yes, there are those people.
Yeah.
Is that the world we want? Like, do you guys understanding what you, like, we're sinking the ship doing this shit.
Yeah.
Like, trainers are already not considered. If we now to have template for one-on-ones, oh my God, dude.
Then what's the point?
Like, and for...
But then it's just memorization. Then you just stop growing.
Functional fitness was supposed to be an improvement on bodybuilding.
Right.
All CrossFitters have trashed at the beginning anyway with Dave Castro, Globo Gym and their trainers because they followed templates and stuff like that. Functional fitness was supposed to be an improvement.
Right.
Are we falling back exactly onto what bodybuilding did? It's fucking, you know what I mean?
But it's turning into that because when you see what the amazingness of what was CrossFit is they had the barbell once, maybe twice a week.
Yeah.
But once people started opening gyms, somebody realized that an hour is a perfect time for a class.
Yeah.
And somebody started to realize I can't have 15 pairs of 30-pound dumbbells. So therefore, I'm going to have a barbell that can be micro-loaded.
Exactly.
And so that's the only reason that barbell cycling and all this stuff started happening is because it was easier.
You know that someone gave me that fucking dude from Sweden gave me that one, that the barbell was better than the sandbag because the barbell you can put half a pound. I was like, you can do it on the sandbag too.
Right. Which the coolest thing, one of my clients bought a 200-pound sandbag. And I was like, every day, just pick it up, do some squats with it and see what happens. And the first day, couldn't pick it up. Second day, couldn't pick it up. Third day, could pick it up. By the fifth day, he got 8 squats on it. Like how quickly the body can adapt to the stress, right?
Especially with the sandbag.
Sorry, that was a side rant.
No, but it's a rant podcast anyway, so fuck it. Let's talk about all the stuff that pisses off.
Yeah, but that's the one that I keep seeing, and I'm just like, I don't think people have that conversation of why are you a fucking coach to begin with?
What is your why? Well, that would be a big one.
Which is a big one, right? So like we've had that conversation. Like a lot of people become coaches because they just kind of lazy everywhere and they have fun training and they're like, oh, I could be in a gym all day. That scares the shit out of me
when I hear those stories. Every time you tell me that story, I'm like, is that what the guy chose to be a coach? Is that how people see us?
And then they get very...
Fuck me.
But you see it everywhere, right? We're like on, I think it was Jimmy Fallon, they said that the most expensive counter in the world, and they showed a personal trainer just counting reps. That's kind of what it's starting to become, right? Like you see that quite a bit. Not everybody out there is bad, and I think that it's changing towards the better. But I think that the capacity that coaches have versus what they should have is
yeah. But do you know what kills me to defend them on that one is like a lot of them don't know that. Like I see a true passion for helping, not from the one who thinks just a job is easy. Because I heard that one too. Oh, it looks like easy, I'll do that, and it's well paid that way.
You get to count people, yeah.
Yeah, that means you're not doing shit in life, but that's another problem. But there is a true passion toward helping people. Even on those assessments for free, that drove me insane on the StrongFit community. You saw people responding. Some of them were that fucking physio, but others were genuinely trying to help. So there is that thing. But it's true that, and to defend them, because again, I always rail on structure, but it is true that we did not provide the structure necessary for people that were at a certain level to be able to move forward.
Right.
So that's also my frustration with the fitness industry, and with me, the way I am is that as well. Is I bitch about it, but I did not provide the best structure for them to move forward.
Right.
And that's why we're trying to change it and everything. But that's to go back to what we're talking about. Then you have to be able to look in the mirror.
Right.
and go like, yeah, all right. So how do I change this? And God knows, like, structure is not my thing and it's very hard for me to do.
Right.
But I'm kicking my own ass so we can do that. Or if I can't do it, then we have people to do it, which is what we've been doing for the last 2 years. How do we do a better job? Can you please look in the mirror and have the same conversation with yourself?
Well, and we provide simple solutions. They're not easy and they're not simplistic, but they're very simple.
And there's a huge difference between the two.
The only reason is that it requires the people to have the level of investment of wanting to get better.
And that, honestly, I think is only fair. So I would agree that sometimes they required also a knowledge of movement or stuff like that they did not have.
Right.
But in many cases, what was lacking is the willingness to of self-involvement simply into the process of trying the shit.
If you're looking at the fitness industry, putting people in positions and counting the reps, that's a very simplistic approach, right? Knees out is a simplistic approach.
Chest up, all this shit.
It's trying to create a simplistic solution, which is not the proper solution to begin with.
And that's, and I'm sure, for example, because knees out was clearly started, what he meant by that is push your knees out until you feel tension in the glutes.
Right.
But that's not what he said now, is it?
Yeah.
And then from there, now everybody is just taking, that's what kills me with oversimplification is, for example, cues, is people jumping on, now we are at a stage where we need a 3-word sentence to do something.
Right.
I'm like, since when? Did that ever work? Knees out did not work. Within 2 years, he created an entire generation of CrossFitters that squat with their knees past their ankles because knees out, even though there is no reason in their case to have the knees out since their knees are not caving in.
Right.
But this is what happens when you do this, when you just say shit like knees out without the background necessary to... Right, that's my problem with the 2-3 word stuff that they all love in the fitness industry because it's easier to put on the fucking... exactly. But that's what the marketing stuff that we've been doing. Like, you could see where it could go wrong very easily for us.
Yeah.
Because it would be so much... We spent so many hours doing this shit.
Right.
Like, really trying to have the stuff going the right way and everything. But it'd be so much easy to go, oh, fuck it, man. Just find me a 3-word sentence and then just blast it on Instagram and then people will like it. People hate being confused.
Yeah.
This is rule number 1 of marketing, from what I saw. Do not confuse people. You see it in politics, you see it in everything that you do. The second you bring something where you go, well, it depends. It's a bit confusing, people back off.
Right.
Now what you have is people catering to your egos to sell you shit.
Non-stop.
The fact that it's working is what drives me crazy. It's like, stop letting people cater to your ego to sell you stuff.
Right.
Yes, you're going to be confused. That's normal because you don't know the shit yet.
Well, it's part of the learning process, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's okay, and that's okay. I'm still confused about stuff. You should read the fucking studies I'm having to deal with an hour and a half a day. You think I don't get confused? Fuck me. It's those are dangerous waters to swim through because it's complicated and but that's the commitment to learning.
Yeah.
So stop with the oversimplification because do not let people tell you that being confused is a bad thing.
Right.
And that's what the outsourcing your programming, all that stuff. Well, I'm confused about this. Good. Then learn about it.
Yeah.
Make that effort that one time so you're not confused the next time. So you don't have to outsource every single thing that you do.
Yeah. Right. So you can have some fucking passion in what you're doing. Jesus.
Right? How about being curious?
Fucking...
But by the way, how about being curious? When did that go away? I don't think I'm driven as a person, but I think I'm extremely curious.
Right.
And that gave me the drive to do what I want in life. So I guess that depends on how you call drive. I don't feel myself driven because when I saw what Janina like driving herself to fucking, an hour by train just to go train to sprint, I'm like, I can't do that.
Right.
At 14, fuck no. But at the same time, my curiosity drove me to always go after the next stuff and the next stuff. And so it's, I guess, a specific type of drive.
Right,
but where did that go? You cannot be a good coach without curiosity.
No, I think that I think I can't speak for them, but it's a matter of stagnation. And we talked about this all the time. Like, even when you try and find somebody to mentor you or to become better, there's weekend seminars and there's, certifications you can take. But outside of that,
that's true as well. Yeah.
It's not considered in the US. Becoming a personal trainer or a coach is an insurance policy. That's all it is.
That's all there is.
They're requiring you to become a personal trainer so that you can be insured.
Yeah, that's all.
And when you look at these certifications, the certifications, like looking at like even CrossFit, like they took away they said strict pull-ups from the beginning, and they took away the kipping pull-up, but
they did not say strict pull-ups anyway.
Not at the beginning, right? So
that's another problem.
But that's a whole other thing, right? But the reasons the changes were made to that level 1 is because now they're being insured, because now it's an accredited certification. It's the same thing with like the A certification, the NASM. When I look at all that information they give, it's a certification to cover your ass. So again, it's a simplistic approach to how do I gear the minimum results to allow myself to sell something so that I don't get in trouble.
And then what they say is it's on the coach to educate himself.
Yeah.
Even though that's supposed to be the educational part that you provide.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we start to look at if we actually want to become a coach, then you're becoming a master of something. And there's an art to movement. There's an art to weightlifting, understanding the history. There's so much that can go into any field of exercise you want to go into. How much are you truly dedicating to understand that end? All right. And where do you go to find it?
So I don't know if you can cultivate curiosity, but if you're not curious, you will not make progress. So like if I were to study Olympic weightlifting, the first thing I would do is Russia, 1940. I mean, I would start, actually I kind of did, because, you know, Paul Anderson and how come he was that, like I would go through that first to know. You have to be a student of the game if you want to be good at anything.
Right. But I think that people just cut short with, again, the first person they find and they go at it and they go, they gave me the process to make something and I can make money out of it. So then I think it stops there. I don't think it goes past that. Right?
Right. And this is my biggest frustration.
Yeah.
This is where, by the way, if you want my help, that line, if that's what you want, don't, because I'll smell it from a mile away, and I'll.
Well, and that's why we don't like the mentoring program is getting better. Yeah. But that's why we've got people like join the mentoring program and leave within a month, because they're expecting that we're going to give them a protocol on how to do an assessment and
for their client. Yeah, that's like, what it was. I'm like, but you can't find the problem on yourself.
Yeah.
Then what do you want us to do?
Right.
Like there's maybe we just do things differently. But at this stage, I don't give a shit. Yeah, but at this stage, I don't give a shit. What I want to create is a field, a part of the fitness industry where people like us can go and learn.
Right.
I am as frustrated with the fitness industry as I am with some people. I do acknowledge that there are really well-intentioned people that are like us, that want to come and learn from us because they don't want the other shit either.
Right.
And it is true that we did not necessarily provide the best structure for them, because that's by definition not how we are built. So we're going to do that. But that part out there of the fitness industry that is just that frustrates me so much.
Yeah.
And I want nothing to do with them.
Right.
Like I'm not even interested in crossing the barrier that much anyway. I just want my people.
Right. Yeah.
People like us, curious, who want to improve people and everything. And me, all I want is to create a chunk of space where others can come and we can grow this thing, which I think will allow us to save the fitness industry, which I feel is dying of a specific form of corruption, cancer, whatever you call it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I want to see, me, is that. And so, but when I see like that, you know, like devolution of people, for example, on the StrongFit community, which was going well and now it's just free assessment, that's why I went on a post like that, because I was like, no, or I'll shut it down. But that cancer will not grow in the StrongFit community. If I have to put everybody behind a paywall and cancel the free shit, then I will.
Yeah.
But this cancer will not grow within the StrongFit community. Like, it was turning into exactly what I did not want to see, where we had people asking for free assessment, and on top of it, the people answering 8 out of 10 say knees out.
Right.
I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
This shit, like, right now, I'll cut it off right now.
Yeah.
So I'll try to fix it maybe, but we're going to do the paywall anyway, where we'll have a community. If this is not exactly what I want, I'll cancel it.
Yeah.
I am at a stage where I do not care anymore. I want all people in all place. And if we're good enough, and I believe we are, we'll make it strong enough and big enough that other people can reach and be the one part free of corruption, free of the cancer.
Yeah.
And like hopefully can grow to somewhere. Yeah.
I think
that's the plan. Be curious.
We're very
people.
stubborn.
Very, very. And
We're persistent.
but the thing is, because we don't do that for money, we can last
Right.
forever.
Yeah.
That's also the difference.
the
The
thing.
people they quit early because once the money doesn't come, then they have no reason to do it.
They go do something
With us,
like
at
that.
first, we had no idea where we were going. We might have been, completely broke like 3 months in. We never gave a shit. It happens to be working, but we never cared. So I think like we can last,
Yeah.
whereas the others don't.
Well-
But be curious, people.
Yeah.
Please.
For sure.
Yeah.
Always question everything.
Always.
Have a good one, guys.
See you next time.
Bam.